Good morning, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? My name is Andrew Moore. I'm the founder of UK Sol. I've been in the solar industry about 20 years, and I set up UK Sol basically as a British brand of solar PV module, because I could see in the market that there was no British representation hardly at all. BP Solar just left the market, and I was going to exhibitions in Germany and places around the world, and see no British companies there at all. So I really want to set up a British brand. But in doing so, I also saw the rise of Chinese solar PV module manufacturers. I joined a German solar company called Antares Solar about 15 years ago, because Germany were the leaders in solar PV manufacturing at the time. And I wanted to join a manufacturing company out there. So I joined them, and literally within months of me joining, they said that they had to move manufacturing to China because Chinese brands had come into the market 60% cheaper than everybody else. And in fact, the German solar industry was crashing, was falling down. So China kind of really took over the market at that point. So probably 90% of the world's panels come from China at the moment. And UK Sol, we also manufacture there because of the price point. People want a British brand, but when it comes to pricing, people are not prepared to pay a higher price for manufacturing in the UK. This is the reality. And this is something I've been working on for many years, to see if we could build a factory in the UK. I spoke to Boris Johnson about it and GB Energy about it. Nobody's interested. They're not interested in building here. They're worried about the net carbon footprint here. There's no investment. The bank's not interested. I spoke to one bank, and literally the guy fell off his chair laughing when I said I want to build a solar panel factory in the UK. This is the attitude here. Very, very difficult. And the solar panel market is almost a commodity market, and pricing is everything. So this links into what I'm talking about today, because obviously a lot of the cells, raw materials are coming from China. And actually the solar industry, the solar panel industry, is probably one of the most scrutinized products in the country, really, because if you go to B&Q, probably 95% of all the products in there are probably made in China. But it's under the solar panel that people really look at every element of where that panel's made and where the materials are coming from. So as an industry, we're quite heavily regulated, and a lot of scrutiny about where materials are coming from. So we are a British company. We are registered here, so all our warranties, design support is done from the UK. So it means that we're paying taxes here, and we're responsible under law for forced labour issues, ESG stuff, warranties, consumer protection. But sad to say that many companies, even in this building today, are huge suppliers into the UK, but are not registered here, which is very sad. And we're one of the few companies that are actually a British company, a bit like Dyson. You see their hand dryers around the world. They're not made in the UK, but it's a British company. So we do most sizes of panels out there. So we can do everything that the big manufacturers can do, very competitively priced, but with a British service and support. But you're here today to listen to a talk on ESG, the ethics of solar. It's a very interesting subject, actually. And sometimes I think it's a little bit like if you were to go into the street outside and somebody was to say, "Oh, look at that van over there. I want you to tell me, on that van, there's a rubber wheel on that van. Can you tell me who grew the rubber for that tire?" That's the depth that we go to in the solar industry to identify where all the materials are coming from. And it's not always easy to do, and we want to be very honest about this. There's a lot of box ticking going off out there, a lot of paperwork being generated by people saying, "Oh yeah, we meet all these requirements for where the materials are coming from." But it actually can be quite difficult. So could you tell where the rubber was grown to make that tire out there? Very difficult, isn't it, sometimes? But a lot of it was highlighted by Sheffield Hallam University, my hometown actually, when they did a lot of reports on potential forced labour with polysilicon production in certain parts of China. So this report went viral and has got into a lot of people now, and actually is quite famous. A lot of people ask these questions now when we solar panels: where's the polysilicon coming from? Where's the ingots made? Where the materials are made? These are quite big questions that come up, and we need to be able to verify that. And in some of the slides you'll see in a minute are some of the ways that we try to do that. There will be a Q&A session at the end, by the way. Also, I think as you know, the government's really trying to promote solar at the moment. That's one of the really good things they're doing, because unlike oil and gas, we have some control over solar, don't we? It's generating power for ourselves, for our homes, or our businesses. It's actually giving us a bit of energy independence. So solar is a great product in times like now with high energy prices. But one or two people are saying, well, these are Chinese brands of solar panel. So that's why UK Solar is a British company. We like to see them be more used in government projects, for instance. I do believe the government's made a big mistake in that they've given a lot of funding for solar, but none of that's linked to manufacturing here in Britain. And I think we've missed a massive trick in that we could have generated a lot of industry for ourselves by manufacturing here. But serial governments have just decided we want to import everything, which I think is a great shame. So UK Solar is a member of a number of organisations that really works hard and trying to make sure that the solar panels we produce are ethically made. So one of the most important ones is the Solar Stewardship Initiative, which we've been members of a few years now. This is actually a European body that does a great deal of work to understand the manufacturing process for the panels, where the materials are coming from, and they're laying down very strong standards for the whole of Europe. And it looks like our government will be following SSI recommendations for all solar module producers. So we're working hard to meet these requirements, and our factory is a member of this group, and we try and meet their standards in terms of manufacturing. So in future, government will insist that all solar panels coming into the country meet SSI requirements. You can have a look at their website. There's a lot of information on there about the standards that they set and the auditing that they carry out of each factory. There are also other organisations that also do ESG type auditing and checking of factories. It's not just about the materials, it's also how the workers are looked after as well. And we've had a special report done by Sedec Smeta to look at the social conditions of people producing our solar panels, to make sure that people are a member of a union, that they don't work too much overtime, that the working conditions are very good. I've been to manufacturers in China. Factories are excellent, and actually working conditions are actually way better than our own. Really good, actually. So we've had these reports done. Companies like SGS will do independent reporting and auditing for us of each production, each batch of panels coming out of the factory. I think one of the most important things is that as a British company, I'm under UK law. So if I let you guys down in terms of the panel being forced labour, if it's got a defect with it, if I'm not honouring the warranty, you can come and see me about that, and you can sue me in the UK. But unfortunately, many suppliers, because they're not based here, it's much harder to do that. So we come under British laws, and we actually pay British taxes here. We contributed about £1 million to the British economy last year in paying taxes, which many other companies don't do that. We have a 30-year British warranty, so it's all backed up from here, 25-year product warranty. As I say, backed up by UK law. If I don't do what I'm saying I'm going to do. We've been around 11 years, so we've always honoured our warranties, and also we're around the world. We're in about 50 countries around the world. So we're one of the biggest brands in Iraq, for instance, in Bolivia. UK Solar's doing really well over there because people like UK standards and partnership. I'd recommend this magazine, not just talking about solar, but they bring a magazine out every month on a different topic. Last time it was toilet rolls. The one before was like coffee and even sun cream. And they go into great depth on who are the companies behind these famous brands, and do they do what they say they're going to do? What materials do they use? Are they recycling materials? Super magazine, and they did one on solar recently, and we came out recommended after they did an in-depth study of UK solar panels. Now, one of the companies we use to audit the materials in our solar panels is a company based in London called Infios, and they do traceability audits in great depth. So something like Octopus Energy will come to us and say, Andy, can you explain where all the materials are coming from in your solar panel? The back sheet, the cells, aluminium frame, junction boxes, all these things. And Infios takes our bill of materials, they contact every manufacturer and find out where all the materials are coming from, where they're made, is it in a forced labour region, where the polysilicon's coming from, and they go into this in great depth. A lot of the people that make cells for us have got special TUV certification to say the cell is not coming from a forced labour area. So a lot of independent companies coming up doing this kind of work. One of the things I would say though is that we need a global standard for these things, because companies like ourselves are having to duplicate a lot of these checks and certification in many places and different organisations. It all costs money as well, so it's an extra burden, but we think it's very important at the same time. So something like Infios can give you a report about our panels showing all the traceability. So they're open to do that. They want their fee, of course, but they do very thorough research. Also, we could do independent order level testing. So if you place an order, we can get independent people to go out to the factory and just check everything is correct in that order and where the materials are coming from for each individual order as well. So companies like SGS do that work for us. So as part of UK Solar, this is a very big area of our company now. We try and meet these ESG ethical supply traceability questions. And we're members of different organisations as well. So like Solar Energy UK, when we sign up to Britain's solar industry body, we have to meet certain requirements there. We're also a member of EcoVadis. They also do lots of checks. We sell through companies like CEF and Edmondson's. They also do lots of checks themselves, and they've got whole departments looking at traceability and ethics. So we're constantly working on these topics. We also think recycling is a very important aspect as well. So we work with Britain's only panel recycling firm, physically does the recycling in Worcester, and they're the only company that's approved by the Environment Agency. So we do a lot of recycling of panels now, which means that the panels get to a good home at the end of it and taken down into individual components like carbon and silver, and can be reused again. And actually, surprisingly enough, we're inundated with requirements for recycling at the moment. There's even solar farms out there, 40,000, 50,000 solar panels that need recycling because they're going to replace all those panels, even within 10 years, because sometimes they can't claim on the warranties because they've gone faulty. Not our panels, but other people's. So we also work with these organisations who've got very strict ethical requirements. We're also going to be doing plug-in solar. That's our next big thing. The market will liberalise in July, so people can plug in 2 panels at home, big thing. And we also do in-roof systems as well. I think we're almost out of time, so I'm just going to wrap it up. And these are some of the countries we're in. So anyway, questions and answers. So any questions at all before we finish?
Hello. Right, you mentioned there's going to be about 40,000 to 50,000 solar panels that are coming out that need to be recycled. Where can we get access to the people that have these solar panels in place, and how do we actually get in contact with them?
What, the panels that are being taken away?
Yeah.
Well, obviously it's down to that site. This is just one site that's doing that. So there's quite a few companies out there looking to buy those second-hand panels from them, or they can be recycled. So it's up to the site owner what they do with them. But yes, there's quite a few companies out there who will buy second-hand panels and resell them maybe in Africa and other places.
Right. Okay. That's all good.
Hi, Andrew. Kimberly Gibson at Kia. I just wanted to know, of the SSI audits that have taken place, of your factories you source from, have you had any feedback from the factories on the audit process?
Yes, obviously there's reports written of the factories, and actually there's a report that said these are the things you've got to look into, try and improve. So when we did the SEDEX SMETA report, there was a few actions that need to be taken to improve things. So yes, feedback is very important. Yes.
So will you continue to do your SMETA audits as well as your SSI traceability audits?
Yes, it's a continuous process, and it's also very expensive. And I think this is one of the challenges
Yeah, it is.
that we're constantly asked about these things. And there's different aspects of SEDEX SMETA. There's the production, there's the labour. You can have reports on all these things. And one of the sad things to say is that there's obviously a whole industry has grown up around ethics and ESG. And obviously a lot of people making quite a lot of money on this because they've set up these organisations, putting pressure on us. We want to do the right thing, but equally people are charging a lot of money for these exercises and kind of creating a market in its own right as well. So that's why we need a standardised system, same system for everybody, and with low cost testing and auditing really.
Thank you.
Hiya. I'm wondering if you're able to guarantee that the panels are made and the materials are mined without forced labour or unpaid labour, how are you able to offer a similar price point on the panels?
Well, because of that fact that obviously we manufacture in China at the moment, we'd love to build a factory in the UK, but I have sleepless nights that we build a factory, the first panel comes off the production line and it's 20-30% more expensive. And I know in the market people won't buy it at that, even though it's made in Britain. We'd love to do that, but we just haven't got the confidence that people would buy it. So we have to manufacture. But as a British company, as our own brand, we can manufacture anywhere we want. So we can also manufacture in Spain. And also in Turkey, we can offer a completely non-Chinese source material panel. It is quite expensive, but we have got that choice and that option if people want it. So we've got a number of options at the moment. But like many things, you're buying from a British company, British brand. It's like Jaguar Land Rover. Many of the parts are from China, but it's a British brand. So we have to sort of sit within that compromise at the moment.
Hi, just a bit of a clarification. So the manufacturing that's in China, do you own the manufacturing, or do they produce panels for other brands that we see?
Yes, it's a good question. I don't particularly want to own the manufacturing because massive overheads there, and even companies within China are struggling financially because of low prices in the market. Even the Chinese are struggling because of that. So we don't have that overhead, and also we want to be free to move manufacturing throughout the world where we think it's best to do it. So we can change manufacturing overnight to another country if we feel that that's right. So I think that's a better position to be in. As soon as you own the factory, you become tied down to it, and also the massive overhead there, which are going to put prices up a lot. And but yes, a lot of factories in China do make for many brands. So for instance, a lot of brands here today are made in the same factory actually. So it's quite incestuous in that regard. It's not always a bad thing, but we're all kind of using the same cells and materials to bring out different brands of panel.
Okay, but so the difference is you actually have sort of auditing and visiting these factories that you contract from to ensure that there's no slave labor.
Exactly. So the difference with us is that you're buying from a British company. We deal with everything here. The stocks are here. Any problems, concerns, you deal with us in Britain. And it's a British warranty, not a Chinese warranty, British warranty. So any problems in the future, we'll deal with that for you. Yeah? And you can even sue me if things go wrong, where it's difficult to sue overseas companies. Yeah? So we're much more accountable. We're accountable in British law. If you find out that my panels have been made by slave labour, I can go to prison. And that's right, that's correct. Other people don't. And that's the difference between us and overseas brands.
Thank you.
The government's rhetoric at the moment is all around further and faster with solar. With that in mind, do you think there's enough attention being paid to ensuring products are ethical? And could you speak a little bit more to your comment about the government bringing in requirements for SSI requirements on all panels coming into the country?
Yes, I think they want to focus government policy around SSI. I think that's a good thing. It's a European-wide body, and it's quite a strict, well-organised organisation. So I think that's a good thing. But I personally think, well, if we made it in Britain, surely that's going to be a bigger tick box for ethical procurement. We can control everything a lot better here and see it all. But we seem to put that to one side all the time. And also importing all the time is not a good, the massive carbon footprint. So Britain's saying, oh, we're net zero compliant because we've got all this renewables now. But we're putting to one side the fact that we're importing it all in dirty ships that's creating a massive carbon footprint. And we've got to address that. That's got to be part of the whole thing, hasn't it? So not only ethics, but also carbon footprint needs to come together, I think. Well, thanks very much for your time. Thank you for coming. We've got a stand over there. If you want to come and chat, please do. Thank you very much.